When you hear the name Activision, you probably think of one of two things. One of the greatest gaming companies of the early 80s, responsible for classics like Pitfall, Stampede, and Barnstorming. Or you think of one of the slimiest gaming corporations that's ruined more studios and series than you can count with their predatory monetization practices and trend-chasing leadership. Both are true, but which one pops into your mind first is most likely indicative of your age. Back in the late 70s, some of Atari's most talented programmers, including Alan Miller, Bob Whitehead, David Crane, and Larry Kaplan, were getting tired of being underpaid and undercredited for their incredibly successful work at the company. The latter was due to Atari not wanting other companies to swoop in and steal some of their top talent. Video game programmers were extremely rare back then, after all. The four ended up leaving Atari throughout 1979 and started up their own company, one that paid its employees well and made sure everyone knew who was responsible for each game they would release. Given their shared past experience of programming for the Atari VCS, they decided to continue to create games for that platform. Their focus this time would be on games featuring better and more unique-looking graphics to help their games stand out among the competition. Atari would attempt legal action against Activision once they were aware of their plans, but the case was soon dropped since the new team had made sure to cover all their bases legally and hadn't brought any documentation or hardware with them when they left Atari. In August of 1980, Activision's inaugural batch of 4 games were released, making them the first third-party company in the console gaming space. But enough history, it's time to actually play the games. Let's start out with David Crane's Dragster. The game definitely lives up to their high visual presentation standards, with some nice animation and some of the largest sprites seen on the 2600 at that point. It's a fairly simple racing game, with the goal being to get your Ritz Cracker Wheel car from the left side of the screen to the right before your opponent. You can either play against a friend or race against the computer as a single player. As soon as one of the players comes in contact with the other edge of the screen, the game ends. Because of this, most games only last about 10 seconds tops. Though thankfully you can start another round just by pressing the controller button instead of having to use the console reset switch every few seconds. Given that there's no braking involved in Dragster, the button is naturally used as an accelerator, but what about shifting? Both the clutch and shifter are controlled by pressing the joystick to the left. Holding the stick left engages the clutch, and releasing it to its centered position automatically shifts to the next gear. There's also a tachometer that shows engine speed so you can see when the next shift needs to happen. It certainly works, but it does take a bit to get used to. I blew my engine multiple times before getting the hang of it. Once you do though, it can be a pretty fun little game, at least for a minute or two. The only other thing you have to worry about is timing. Launching too early will cause the early message to appear on the screen. It still makes you finish the race, but your run is completely disqualified. Okay, so that's the main mode, but what about the other variations? There are no other game variations. Just 1-player and 2-player modes. Dragster may look nice, but it offers a shockingly small amount of content and depth. 2600 games were designed to be short affairs, usually for 10 to 15 minute play sessions, but you'll have seen everything this game has to offer within the first 30 seconds. Next up we have Bob Whitehead's game, Boxing. This is one of the earliest examples of a fighting game, and the first one on the console. The game uses an overhead perspective, showing the heads, shoulders, and arms of the boxers. It once again features some very large sprites, and some of the most fluid animations on the 2600. There are no health bars for the players. Instead, there's a point system and a timer. Every time you land a hit on your opponent, you get a point, and the player with the most points at the end of 2 minutes wins the game. There are also no rounds in this game. Once the 2 minutes are up, the game is over, and you have to reset the game if you want to play again. That's simple stuff so far. Was that round 1?
Yep, round.
Is that
one.
round all? I guess that was it.
It's one round.
Okay. Can we try it again?
Yeah.
Now that we know the... But wait, you can punch with both arms, yet there's only one button on the controller. How does that work? Well, it's actually based on positioning. If your boxer is above or below your opponent, they'll automatically punch with the closest arm. If you're lined up face to face with them, you'll alternate between left and right arm punches. This frees up the joystick to be used exclusively for movement, rather than selecting arms. You can even hold down the button to make your character extend their arm and hold that pose.
I can hold out my hand if I just hold the button. I don't know if that does anything.
Wait, hold on, we can fist bump.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you can fist bump to start the match with your...
It took my friend Zayden and I some time to figure out, but it makes sense and works well enough once you understand it. There's more though. Your fighter isn't just holding his arms out like that for no reason. The gloves themselves act as a way of blocking your rival's attacks. In other words, any punch that doesn't land directly against the head is automatically blocked. This creates a need to stay on the move to protect your own boxer while also trying to get a gap lined up between the gloves of your competitor's fighter. It's amazingly simple, but it works surprisingly well. It also features one of the most satisfying things I've experienced in a 2600 game: combos. That's right, legit combos in an Atari game. Well, sorta. When you land a hit against the head, it'll often push the opponent up or down in the direction of your other arm. This gives you a chance to hit them again with said other arm, which pushes them back the other way. If you get the rhythm correct, you can just keep bashing them back and forth until the other player is able to break free.
Oh no.
Once again, there are no game variations or alternate modes. Just a single-player mode against the spastic CPU and a traditional two-player mode. A good bit of fun for a couple of rounds, but not much replay value here. So the next game is Alan Miller's, Checkers. Yep, it sure is Checkers. You pick a piece to move, choose where you want it to go, and it moves to that spot. And then the screen goes dark. Okay, did the game just crash? Nope, that's just the computer opponent making its move. I guess the 2600 CPU just needs every available resource to compute that. Now look, I'm certainly not judging. I can't imagine trying to program a checkers playing algorithm on hardware that underpowered. But Atari's own video checkers doesn't do that, and it came out right around the same time. It also doesn't really look much worse either. Other than that though, it's just checkers, so it's fine. Moving on. The final game I'm going to cover is Fishing Derby, also made by David Crane. According to the back of the box, it features the most beautiful picture you've ever seen in a video game. I mean, it's certainly not that, but it's without a doubt the best looking game on the console at this point. The game stars two rival fishermen on opposing docks trying to be the one to catch the most fish. The loser gets shot by their extendable fishing rifles. Okay, I obviously made that part up, but they do really look like rifles. You use the joystick to raise and lower the fishing hook, and getting the end of the line to make contact with the fish's mouth hooks it. Well, usually. The deeper a fish's location in the water, the more points it's worth. The first player to reach 99 points wins. Once the fish is on your line, it'll try and swim back and forth as you pull it in, and you can use the button to reel it in faster. The real challenge, then, pun fully intended, is getting them past the shark. It moves back and forth sporadically at variable speeds and will eat your fish if they make contact with it. Since the fish can't actually break free of the line once they get caught, their only purpose in doing this is to make it harder for you to reel them in past the shark.
The shark comes.
Oh, it turned around for a brief second and stole my fish. It'll also just sometimes sit around on one person's side. In our brief playtime, the shark frequently decided I'd be the lucky player to earn its undivided attention.
Oh no.
Oh, the shark is just hanging around on my side.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, it's kind of just been over there right now.
And, well, that's Fishing Derby. Once again, there's only two variations, single player and two player. No different speeds or behaviors for the shark or fish, no changes in scoring, and most unfortunately, no way to shoot the losing player. And that's a running theme for all early Activision games. They look and sound great, at least for the 2600, they play very well, and are very polished games. There's just nothing to them. I assume that's mostly due to the very limited ROM space being quickly taken up with the large detailed sprites and fluid animations. Whether or not that's a trade-off worth making is down to the individual, but personally I prefer Atari's simple graphics but variation-heavy approach. The company would end up making some of the biggest and best games for the console, even becoming an official licensed partner by the end of '81. It's interesting then to look back at their first games and see just how far they've come.